just reminders for everyone. Oh, thank you, Landon. So a couple of days ago, hopefully you all received an email from Landon about a survey on our homelessness collaborative. And so I just wanted to, remind everyone, if you didn't receive it, you can contact Landon or myself and have that thank you, Landon, in the chat. And it's just really, it's a quick survey. It shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. As our 3-year strategic plan with the city of Santa Barbara is coming to an end, we just would like to get feedback from everyone about our collaborative efforts. What you found was most effective through this process, areas for improvement as we look and plan for the next couple of years, or specifically the next year with the city. And so it's just really important that you all, since you participate on a regular basis, if you can fill that out and just give us your feedback. And then, of course, if you have any questions regarding it or anything, you can always reach out. We also just wanted to put it on everyone's radar. On March 24th is the PATH presentation. Well, they'll give us their updates, their programmatic overview and outcomes, just general information.
So let me know.
So that'll be on March 24th. And then, Landon, if you wanted to mention the library book to action.
So the Santa Barbara Public Library, in partnership with the city of Santa Barbara and various other organizations working around housing and homelessness, is hosting their annual Book to Action series. And this year it's focused on housing and homelessness. So they're reading through a book called Golden Gates, which talks a lot about the housing crisis in the Bay Area, and then hosting a series of discussions around housing issues locally. They'll be bringing in some speakers and the author of the book Mutual Aid later this year. We do really encourage you to join us, and I'll post the link to the full listing of events in the chat window. So the next one will be on Tuesday at 6 p.m. at the Faulkner Gallery at the library.
Thank you. And those are just the general announcements that we had. So we want to now then give you all the opportunity for any updates or areas of concern that you're seeing, things that throughout the community on the east side that you want to bring to our attention. I know Odin is out in LA right now doing some other work with PATH, so he's not on the call. Shannon Brunner was going to be here. But anything relating to, areas of concern around PATH, I know Giovanna is on the call and she will relay that information to PATH staff.
Just wanted to start by saying that we have driven around the neighborhood. Joao did yesterday. I did as well. CityNet was out there yesterday, and they're going to go back out there this morning. We've noticed a few individuals seeking shelter from the rain, particularly on the Cacique underpass. There was a couple at the Milpas roundabout underpass yesterday. We didn't see them this morning. A few people in Quarantina. I'm sure there's other places that Joao or Al can update us on. I'll send CityNet out because we know that Odin has been working out of town this week. So his team's been out there doing engagement, and I believe they got at least one person to agree to go to the shelter. We're thinking that a lot of people are saying that they're okay with staying at the underpass, but we've asked them to at least move their belongings out of the way, recognizing that they're seeking shelter from the rain. But we think that maybe if they see how severe the rain is, I think yesterday was easy. People thought the rain was going to be milder. Today it's a little heavier, so that might pursue them or convince them to seek shelter. So CityNet will be going back out there again to make those offers. The warming shelters have been activated. The first one's going to be at, I'll have to pull that up if somebody knows that, the Unitarian Society. And of course, PATH is having their shelter open as well for 26 beds, and they are being utilized. And those are the updates that we have. So if there's anything else, please let us know.
And I think just to add to that, so PATH will be activating their inclement weather beds until Thursday morning. And then for the warming centers, they will be activated until, as of right now, until Saturday, or the 28th, sorry.
They keep extending them. So we're trying to update as quickly as we can.
Yeah. So as of right now, it's until the 28th, and they'll be activated at the Unitarian Society, as Liz mentioned, and as well at the Trinity Episcopal Church.
Yeah, Trinity Episcopal goes from Sunday through Thursday. Sunday through Tuesday. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to follow up with on Liz, because like I said, we've been in communication this morning and yesterday afternoon to making aware of just some areas of concern, specifically the underpasses. Cesar Chavez, Quarantina, Milpas, and Cacique. So yesterday afternoon, I had my team stop by there. We ran into 4 individuals in the Cacique underpass, 2 individuals in Quarantina, 1 individual under the Calle Cesar Chavez, which and then 2 more, which one was sleeping around the Quarantina area. We were able to get 1 into the warming center and shelter. Many of them declined, but were saying if it got colder, that they would think about it. So that was yesterday afternoon. We specifically went to Cacique and kind of just expressed to them, we need them to clean up the area. They can't cover up the whole walkway. There were some things hanging. We asked them just to take them down because, like I said, we did have some community concern, and we didn't want it to escalate where, PD had to get involved to try to save their time for, other emergencies. So they did start cleaning up at the time when we went to the Milpas underpass, and like Liz hasn't updated the same, no one was there when we went to the Milpas underpass on there. And then there was one, off East Beach, a tent, and was it Cesar Chavez? Our team didn't find it yesterday, but we're following up. So that was yesterday afternoon, going into the evening to do that, to try to make those. Like Liz says, we're following up. I literally, as we speak, I have some out there to go offer long-term beds. But the goal is to at least get them into the warming center. I look at this as I try to look at it with a cup half filled, where these situations where the rain and weather's like this, I look at it as a positive, where those individuals that usually wouldn't be willing to go in, at least get that taste, right? Just get that 1 foot into the door, where hopefully they see it's something different, maybe from the past that they've experienced. And luckily we do have some beds available in order to keep them there long-term if necessary, if they would like, of course. So we are working diligently to continue contacting them, to continue to get that opportunity of engaging in services. But we are communicating, and they are communicating back with us. So that's one thing I do, whether, it might not be the answer we want right now, but I was just glad to hear that I said, yeah, if the weather gets colder, gets worse, we're definitely thinking about going in. And I was happy to see that they are started cleaning up as we were there. So keep us updated on that, but our team is available and around all day. And of course, I'm just thinking about everyone's safety. So I told them to be safe and take their time, but to get out there. So give me your concerns as they come up throughout the day, and we can get our teams out there as soon as possible if they come up. Okay.
Thanks, Alan. And just in general, as Liz mentioned, we just ask for your patience. We have storms back to back, much like we experienced in January. They're not as severe or significant, but our unsheltered are seeking refuge. And it's really difficult for us to enforce sit lie when we know that they're simply there to seek coverage from the rain and the cold. So, our teams will go out once the second series of storms have come through. Again, we know it's just a very difficult area when they're blocking the sidewalks. We don't want people to have to walk around, especially with the busy street of Milpas in that corridor. So we're doing the best we can. And again, thanks Sitting at Good Sam and others for just continuing to try to get people into shelter. That is the best refuge that they can seek during this time. But in general, we ask for your patience, and we will make sure once the second storm comes through, the end of Wednesday, that we're out there again.
If I could just add to that, anytime we have inclement weather and warming centers do open up, that's something that we push out to all of our employees out in the field. So that'll be our volunteers in policing and our patrol officers, and in fact, our parking enforcement officers, because as Barbara had mentioned, our goal is to help folks seek some shelter during inclement weather to be safe. In addition, I think Barbara also mentioned when we deal with issues surrounding sit-lie, when you look at the grants past decision, one of the things that the courts had mentioned was that there needs to be special consideration when inclement weather's upon us. And so in this case, that's something that our officers look at when we're deciding how to handle a situation. Inclement weather plays a big role in terms of our approach, which is exactly why we really appreciate Al and his team being out there helping us out, and also our patrol officers helping folks get into temporary shelter.
And then I know a lot of those efforts, it's great to have path shelter right there where we can direct people to. But in the instances that they might be full, can CityNet and Good Samaritan speak to efforts to get people to the warming centers that are hosted by Good Samaritan? I know in the past we've discussed that was a need for bus tokens, bus passes, things like that. So I don't know if that's something that you can just speak to.
Yeah, so we will do have some bus tokens. We had talked about it.
Al, your audio is pretty choppy right now.
I know that's what Natasha told me. I even turned off my camera to hopefully get better, but with this weather, it's not helping. And these walls in my office they're the old Spanish style thick. So yeah, we do have some bus tokens. And I know Barbara and the city had supported us in that effort to be able to provide those, because if they're not clients, we can't transport them just due to liability. But of course, we want them to get there. And so my team does have bus tokens to offer them to get them to the warming centers. And we actually have the flyers with while we're in outreach to provide the location.
Okay, great.
Good morning, everyone. Our staff has been pretty diligent the last couple storms to be able to help our unsheltered community. We're running warming shelters in Santa Maria, Lompoc, and Santa Barbara, so we've been pretty busy. I was actually on call last night for a Santa Maria location, so we've been pretty tired here. In Santa Maria, I know that we had over 40 plus people stay there, so this is great. Like a lot of our clients that I know it's not Santa Barbara, but I just want to use that as an example. A lot of these clients that are just, not wanting to seek any kind of services, you drive by and say, hey, we're going to have a warming shelter open tonight. Come on over. Well, where is it? How far is it? I'll come and pick you up. Get it, get a backpack ready. Let's go. We have dinner for you. You can be safe. You can be warm. All of these clients that would never really engage in services are now being able to come out here. I think I got my numbers yesterday. We've been able to help in Santa Maria and in Lompoc, not duplicated 126 clients, or it might be 164, whatever that last number with my dyslexia gets me right. So like 164 or 126 unduplicated clients that would be in the street right now, right? That would not have anywhere safe to go. I know that Fernando and the rest of the team, I'm having them flex their time. They're showing up later so they can stay later. They're usually 2 to about 10:30. So we can make sure to transport clients to show up and say, hey, I know it's across town, but let's get you there. So we have, we have vans, we have transport carts, we have it all to make sure that these clients are able to get there. So the ones that are still outside, it is not because they haven't been offered services.
And I think too, I just really want to highlight the work that Anais was just mentioning. I think last year, because of COVID and some of the limitations with entering the warming centers with testing and things like that, there wasn't a lot of individuals that entered those facilities. So last year's numbers were a lot lower. So just being able to ramp up again and engage people and see those numbers increase at the warming centers, that's huge. And it's
Yeah.
just, again, thank you for your hard work on that.
Yeah, I showed up to open the doors in Santa Maria yesterday, and there was already 26 clients waiting at the door. That's huge for Santa Maria. Lompoc has had the great numbers, something that's never happened before. Santa Barbara is having great numbers. We were already an hour and a half in, and we had 40 plus clients in Santa Maria. And Santa Barbara is also doing those things. And I think also PATH having those available beds is great. We're seeing these clients, like I said, that would never seek services, whatever reason that they have. Now they know that we are creating a safe space for them, a space without judgment, just acceptance. Come and have a safe space, come and have a good conversation, build community, just have somewhere safe to be. And once you create a safe environment, everything sort of just falls into place.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Anais, and something that we saw during COVID with the non-congregate hotels. We had people who had been outside for literally decades, and suddenly they were in some place safe. Some sort of they were almost a captive audience where it was like people were there like, what can we do for you to get you in housing? And the warming centers offer that same thing. And so keeping in mind that it's not just a warm place and a place for them to get food, but it's a place for us to get in front of them. And that's where the housing magic actually happens, is when they're like, oh, wow, this could actually work for me. So yeah, it's amazing that you have so many people coming to the warming centers.
I'll give
And
you an
now-
example. I don't mean to sidetrack, but I'll give you an example. There's this female who's been coming to our Santa Maria warming shelter who has never sought services before. She's about 7 to 8 months pregnant. Finally, she's ready to go inside. And through, I want to say this is maybe visit number 6 or 5th visit at our warming shelter, we arranged for her to go into the shelter last week and go by herself, because her partner is not willing to seek services. She's able to realize through literally 5 little conversations that she's worth it, that this child is also worth it, and it's okay to be apart from your partner. Go seek services. So now she's in the shelter, had a prenatal care appointment, but we're going to do that now, right? And we're able to make these little baby steps. But to her, they're huge. These things are huge. None of that would have ever happened if she was still outside.
Mm-hmm. And with Good Samaritan having taken over the warming centers, that continuity of care from operating the emergency shelter to then to have outreach teams to make contacts at the shelter and then be able to follow them as they're exiting. I think that's also a huge benefit that we didn't have before. And so there are just under 10 minutes for this first portion of our meeting. So if I know it's really only Chris and Natasha, but if you all, any other questions or areas that you want to bring to our attention, or I know Liz and Barbara, last time we talked about the efforts that are taking place on the labor line. I don't know if there's just an update there that you also wanted to share.
Yeah, we do have a set date for that, and Joao can jump in and add anything, but March 16th will be the date. Is that the right date? Odin is already out there engaging with people, just giving them a heads up about this closure coming out. I know he's been working with CityNet, and I believe with Good Sam's team to kind of coordinate engagement. And I believe he did actually have success getting one person to agree to shelter. So that's a big a big plus for Odin's efforts with people that have generally been resistant to services. And we know he's making progress with another client who has been receptive to also going into the shelter. So that's why we agreed to go wait a little bit longer before we put that fence up to let Odin make that connection and keep building on that progress he's been making. So I don't know, Joel, if you want to add on any other details about the fencing.
Yes, the fence will go up on the 16th. Odin did have one success, and then I believe he has one pending. I believe that is it. The fence will go up on the 16th. PD is going to assist us on that date in case we have any issues, but I believe that is it.
Yeah, actually, and they will be patrolling that area to make sure people aren't trespassing behind that. I also asked Odin that when he talks to the actual laborers, and actually the city net team, because I believe they have Spanish speakers, when they're talking to the laborers, just give them a heads up about what we're doing and what our goal is, so that they don't think that it's that it's because of them. We're trying to get the laborers back, that into that space, and they've been pushed out of the area. So we're also just making sure that the people that have been displaced, the laborers that have been displaced, know what we're doing. So that was it.
I got 3 things. So Landon and I spoke last week. There's an individual who's been camping out on the sidewalk in front of Dune. I put in the report on that. But what I noticed in trying to put the report in the encampment link is it does not allow me to put the longitude and latitude.
I had the same problem, and finally someone's confirming. Thought it was just operator error.
No,
I let Chris Clark know. Yeah.
Yeah. And no, it was not operator error. It was we confirmed that the problem lie in that it accepted it on iOS, but not on, my Galaxy.
Oh,
And
interesting. Okay.
it wouldn't do it on my laptop either.
Yeah, I was going through my laptop too. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not on a Mac, then you're going to get the error. So we love Mac people problem. It's very divisive.
Yeah, and that's why it was appreciated that you gave us a description of the area. We were able to identify him just based on your description.
Yeah, there's no confusion there. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, I went out to go look for him too. And yeah, I did follow up with CityNet. So, but with the rain, the way it's been, we've been kind of in scramble mode. But yeah, but we're aware. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was that one.
Natasha, that
Yes.
site was cleaned up on Wednesday.
Cool.
Yes, we had PD assist us with that individual, and we did clean up that site.
Cool. Awesome. On Wednesday, I thought, yeah, okay, so Wednesday, right. Then next is whoever got the fencing around 7-Eleven. I love you. And they need to adjust the fencing, and I'll tell you how. And Barbara, I'm sorry I had to irritate you with it. But the fencing is like, there's a fence that divides 7-Eleven, not a fence, a wall. And the fence has enough space for somebody to park behind it and sleep there. The fencing needs to be moved right up against the wall. And then the other part of it that's of concern to me personally is on the Gutierrez side, which is just steps from my home. The guy that I reported last summer, I saw him, who was, quote, stalking. I saw him pull the fence back, slip into that cubby hole at the back of 7-Eleven and kind of close the fence. So he's got a nice protected area, and the door that used to be there, and I'm not even sure what's there. There was a door. So I guess there's a space back there. The door has been pulled down. So if they're to do the fence, they need to either attach it or, not make it movable. So that's the 7-Eleven one. And
Natasha, I will talk to the property owner. I had him put up the fence, and that door connects to their HVAC system. They did attach it. Sounds like they took it down again, but I will talk to the property owner and I'll have them go adjust the fence. I will also talk to my partner Dwight to go see about that individual that you are talking about.
okay, so right now I am your biggest fan. So thank you for that. And then the third thing is, and I know we've got the weather and all of that. I still have a concern about all the campsites that are being set up opposite path. Moving the problem across the street is still moving the problem. It's not solving the problem. And we've got people, and I'm sure it's going to happen again as soon as all of this is over and people have, moved and migrated and all of that, they're going to be back in those places. So if there's anything that you can do as a plan to change those habits and behaviors, it would be really appreciated. And all of the work that you guys so valiantly did on State Street, it seems like those prime pieces of real estate are now occupied yet again, some by different people and some by the same people. So I know it's like moving water off the sand, but I'm sure if we really put our heads together and did this differently, we could find different solutions. So that's what I got for you.
Natasha, in city government, we call it incremental progress. So just letting you know, like moving from one side of the street to the other is incremental progress.
I'll change my language.
Just say it.
I'll write it down. I'll repeat it a few times.
Yeah.
We call that, so progress is the appropriate.
Incremental progress. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll remember that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barbara.
No problem. And Joelle, I know that's on your radar. I know Susie from Marburg has also been communicating with us about that movement. We are going to be initiating a conversation. City staff have been talking about some more outside of the box solutions that we could look at, both short-term and long-term, to mitigate the impacts that we're experiencing around PATH, and PATH's openness to look at how we can maybe create a dignified space to make sure that the clients that are coming in and out of PATH, as well as those who are there for other services, have that space that is separate from other things that we're dealing with around the area. So I will update everyone once that meeting happens, and we can look at what we can move forward, both again, short-term and long-term.
Right, we are at the halfway point. Thank you, Natasha, for all your feedback. We really appreciate it, and the city's willingness to follow up on it. Joelle, thank you and your team. And I think Friday's word, incremental progress. I love it. So, and that's the name of the game. This is a long-term investment that we have to continue to work toward. So any progress is great progress.
Well, I think there are other solutions that we can explore that we haven't been exploring.
Agreed,
And what comes to my mind is some work that we did with a small group in Australia. They were having incredible problems with at-risk youth, just rampaging around their town. And over a 5 to 7 year period, that transformed dramatically, because what they did was they engaged that very youth in the not policing, but in the changing of the culture and expectation of their town.
Okay.
And I don't think that it would be I don't think it would be impossible to do that here. There needs to be will and collaboration and a different way of looking at this.
I did have a really good conversation with Jan from the YMCA. He's the director of youth programs, and he's actually really interested in becoming engaged in part of this RAP process. So it was a great connection that we made yesterday. And I think you're right, connecting to the youth is definitely something we need to do. So having the YMCA's engagement with their youth programs is exciting. So hopefully we'll see Jan at future meetings. And Catherine, I need to forward you his email address.
Yeah, Liz,
you.
yes, and my example was not to say let's involve youth, though, you know, youth is certainly
greater
involved in some of these issues. My example was to illustrate that a massive belief change and culture change can be had within the very populations that we want to make behavior change in. And that there's a way to do that without this kind of Humpty Dumpty effect of everybody doing the best they can. But, you know, the problem is still Humpty Dumpty's broken. And all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put him back together again. And with that, I will take my cue, Catherine, and leave you kind people to your deliberations.
So Natasha, before you go, I did want to mention the youth homelessness demonstration program. So we were awarded over $5 million locally, specifically for youth homelessness, and it came with a lot of technical assistance. And so right now I'm working with the Youth Action Board, as well as Jan at the YMCA and members of Fighting Back, which is sort of their North County counterpart for youth services, to draft a coordinated community plan. And so that's going to be really heavily youth driven. We've already had an countywide in-person meeting to draft the vision of how to end youth homelessness in our area. And then after that, so probably late spring, we're looking at May or June, we're going to be releasing a notice of funding. And this is not restricted to only homelessness service providers or only youth providers. HUD wrote this grant to be very broad so that anyone applying can be creative with any programs or projects that they may have who would want to utilize this funding to end youth homelessness. So if you know of any agencies that might be interested, or even if you have, you know, some sort of an idea or something that you want to discuss, definitely open to those ideas and open to partnership and open to applications from literally any agency who might be interested in aligning a project with that coordinated community plan to utilize these funds. And that's an ongoing renewed every 2 years. So it wouldn't just be like a one-time infusion of funds. It would be a project that would be ongoing indefinitely, so long as performance is maintained. So I more information once that forms itself a little bit more.
The way I can contribute to that is I could get my clients to talk to the groups that you're considering and share with you what led to their successes.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
But you wouldn't be funding an Australian, you know, nonprofit, and you wouldn't be funding a school in the UK, you know, and we've had those experiences, and those are our clients.
Yeah, but we would definitely want to see like what they're doing and how we can implement something successful like that locally. Yeah.
All right, you got it. Happy to do that. I can do that. That's easy.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, it's 10:37.
Chris had her hand up for
Chris has her hand up.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
Good afternoon. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you again for all the work you do. Natasha, I 100% agree with you. I have for years been feeling that, especially in the East Side, and I know it applies to the West Side community as well, being a longtime resident here, there is no sense of pride or caring about our community. And it's visible in so many examples, with the homelessness, with the graffiti, with the trash on the streets, on and on and on. And in many, so many other communities where I have resided for periods of time, there are, I've suggested this for years to City Council, there's something we've got to do to improve our community awareness and a sense of pride, a sense of ownership in the neighborhood. And one little example, and it may not work here, but it's worked in, I've been in Anaheim and Riverside County, San Diego County. They have a thing called Paint Anaheim or Paint Riverside or Paint some city and they take a city block. It's an organization that goes through, it takes a whole year of preparation. It takes the whole community coming together. They designate one block and they spend a whole year of getting all these organizations together and they paint every house on a block once a year. It sounds like a little thing, but what happens is during that whole year, all these communities, all these people in the community and the neighbors start getting ready for the event. Then their neighborhood is improved. They start caring about it and they start looking out not only for myself, but for the next guy over. And it's like contagious. And it's one little thing that might help our community to take pride. It's one of those out of the box thinking things that there is no pride in this community. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for today.
Oh, thank you. I think that sounds like a great idea, and that's something that maybe we can discuss internally with the city and see what something like that how we can get to that point. So I think that's a great idea. I love all of the brainstorming that we're having with this group. I really appreciate it. And then just for a heads up, March 10th is our next ERAP. So we will see you then. Appreciate your time today. And now we'll move on to our second portion of the call. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.